Okay, so I am Owen Lumsden, and the other guys introduce yourselves, please.
I am Mason Cucci.
I'm Tyler Yuan. And we also have Matthew Lee, and our
Yep.
project instructor was Nathan Reilly.
Today we are going to talk about our game called the Budget Link game. So yeah, I just like to start with saying we had like 4 days basically to throw our heads into coding and learn the basics. Um, we had a mini project to do one day, and then we were just thrown onto our final project. So with all the information that we learned and with all the help from Nathan, we used all that we could to make a game. So I'll have you guys look at Tyler's screen to show you guys the game.
Yep. So here we have our game, Budget Link. Show you real quick. I'm not sure why it's taking this. Why it's loading.
Sometimes refreshing.
Try to refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So
Okay.
here's Budget Link. And we have the main character right here, Budget Link, and his sword, which has just a red rectangle around it for a hitbox. And the main goal of the game is to get through each level while passing through these doors on each map. And we also have some enemies that bounce around randomly at each point. And per level, there will be either more enemies or significantly more difficult enemies. And as you can see, if you collide with an enemy or a goblin, the game is over and then you're forced to restart.
So I'd like to take this time while Tyler is playing the game to talk about the enemies and how they were coded. The syntax for coding the enemies was a very difficult task. We first had to create a class to define the enemy and give them their nature as colliding with the character to hurt them. And then we had to give them like a different XY axis and a workable width and height so that they weren't like overpowered and enough HP to make it fair. And then as you can see, all the enemies bounce around the room in like a random direction, and the boss is significantly bigger and a more difficult enemy to deal with on the final level.
All right, I guess I'll be taking it with how we coded Budget Link. With coding Budget Link, we wanted to make sure that he was able to interact with the enemies and terrain smoothly. We first had to create a rule for when you press the W, A, S, and D keys, Budget Link will move accordingly based on which key you press. As well, we had to add barriers, then Budget Link can't escape the map, same with the enemies.
We also had to design our own map tiles and maps. We also had to make sure that that everything was working properly. We also had to figure out how to add multiple different things and troubleshoot, like for just one thing. For the levels and health points you see up there, those took quite some time to just get in because we had to figure out how we were going to define the code and what we were going to put in the code that's required to make those work.
Thank you. And then just overall overcoming syntax and troubleshooting. Syntax was different like every time, which always made you had to think like about where like what you had to do with like parentheses, open brackets, if like one open bracket doesn't have a closing bracket, where colons needed to be. And that was always a challenge for me in figuring out where everything goes.
And just to add on for some of the troubleshooting, we also had to figure out why exactly every single time we try to every time we try to move through the levels, which would be hitting a door, why it would just immediately bring us to the last level. Another one was just the enemies just not even moving, even though everything would look correct. It ended up just being one simple colon.
So that essentially concludes all of it. We just want to thank you for listening.
And we'd also like to give another shout out to Nathan with
Nathan.
the syntax and always helping us out and being there to give an extra hand and explaining things in deeper definition.